That's simply not the case. What is expected in faculty, and this has been for quite a while now, is to synthesize the information that you learn in classes and from what you read and from what you are asked to watch or follow, and then synthesize that information using any one of these rhetorical patterns to support the point that you would like to make in your piece of writing. I think we keep using the word essay for lack of a better word.
Hello and welcome to the Test Community Network. My name's Tim Burnett. Here's just a little insight into the conversation I've had with Zeynep, who I met at the Assessment Now conference, the British Council event down in London a few weeks ago. Fascinating conversation, really worth sticking around for. We talk about language testing. We talk about the role of AI and the impact it's having on that space. And we also have an opportunity to talk about Turkey because Zeynep, she's based in Istanbul, and just to hear about the kind of digital and testing landscape and the challenges that they face there. As ever, anything you see and like on this, then you can go to the Test Community Network, where you can subscribe for free and receive through an amazing jam-packed email through every week, which is full of all the information and insights from the industry that you've missed, you've not seen on your social feeds. I curate together what I believe to be the most important information just for you to see. So you can go to the Test Community Network, sign up for that, and you can subscribe as well as part of that. I've got some updates I'm going to share with you just before I share the full interview with Zeynep. So let me put this on the stage. So if you're unfamiliar, this is the Test Community Network website. I'm going to just another little bit of a kind of refresh in terms of what's on there. Let me get rid of that banner there. So I've got a Netflix style. So we've got the kind of highlight there, which is the research sprint I'll mention in a second. But what I've done is I've broken down, so you've got the popular in the network, so you can see which things are kind of standing out the most from people linking in. You've got recommended for you items in there, you've got upcoming, and then in terms of events that are happening, and then I've broken it down on that front screen so you can scroll along. So if you're interested in artificial intelligence, see all the important bits along there. Of course, you've still got the events page. There you can look at all the events activity. You can look at the knowledge base that's in there. You can look at the collections that have marketplace with all the vendors in there, or if you're doing a research into it. And I also still recommend that if you look at the collection, so let's say if you're looking for a particular platform, and someone's telling me they did exactly this the other day, they were looking for a solution. They went to find my AI-powered assessment solution knowledge base, and they did a deep research inquiry there to find out the information about the organizations they were looking for, the features that they're looking for. So do check that out. Also in the QR code at the top there, you see on the page, that's for the AI playbook for adoption of AI within your organizations. Worth having a look at that. We have a live research sprint, which is on the way at the moment. Really, really, really worth watching the webinar I did with the team just as a part of the kickoff for that. But if you go to research.testcommunity.network, and you'll see the link on the front page of the Test Community Network website, you'll see you can watch the webinar. You can see Mia, Sergio, Neil, and Carl talk about their experiences in using AI to author items, and you can get involved in the research as well. So we've got the draft guidelines that are up there now. So I pulled together 25 of the most insightful insights and advice that we've seen so far. You can see the insights that people are sharing as part of it. You can actually then create a survey if you're registered in it and share that out if you want to do your own surveying. You can then chat with those items within the chat tool as well and have a conversation. And that all feeds back into creating the insights, and that just fuels more of the guidance and information that's in there. You can also put in your own statement around there. You can put in links as well. So really powerful piece of platform that I've built. I've just been building apps recently. Absolutely love doing it. And one I wanted to share with you today is this is the comparative judgment one that I built. So I've got 10 items in here. What I've done is I've got AI marking enabled, so it will do a pass through the AI in there. You can then do the judgment process. I'll bring that screen up there. So this is the judgment window. So you can select items that are better or worse as part of that. And then that feeds back into the comparative ranking and see the results that are in there. Let me just find one. Here's one that I made earlier, just so you can see it. This one here. So you can see the results that are pulled out, the ranking that's applied to it, You've got the judgment history in there as well, which you can export down. And I've added in a feature which is not quite working yet, but the idea of generating feedback. So as people are feeding back or doing the judgments, they can put feedback in there, say why it stood out, and then a feedback can be generated for each learner based on where they were in position of what was better above them and what was worse above them as well. So they get a guidance as to how they've done in relation to the pack, but also how people who've done better than them achieved in there as well. So I'm loving building stuff. It's worth checking it out. So now on to my conversation now with Zeynep. I'm going to leave you to hear us talking about language testing and what that has to play within the space. So here is Zeynep and myself in conversation. Thank you for joining me. Are you well?
Thank you. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. So for the people that don't know you, do you want to introduce yourself to the Test Community Network?
Of course. I am one of the people that are called the testers. I have been involved in language assessment for a very long time, actually, for a little over 30 years. My area of specialty is testing, evaluation, and assessment, especially in the area of English language.
Excellent. And you're based out in Istanbul, I believe.
I am based in Istanbul, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful part of the world. I've not been there for a while now, but I would like to go back at some point.
You should. You most definitely should, yeah.
I should. One thing I remember about Istanbul was the cats. I love cats. I'm a big cat fan. So I love the cats there. Anyway, we met in London, didn't we? That's where we met. We met at the Assessment Now conference. A great event. What were your kind of main takeaways from that conference?
Well, AI has stepped into our lives and with enormous speed too, and it's taking more and more of our lives, I think, occupying a greater space in our lives in every area, obviously, in employment, in higher education, in K-12 education, little by little. So it's sort of part of our lives now, everyday lives even, because anything we need to check, we've stopped using Google a little bit, and we've now gone on to the AI platforms that are being offered. So yeah, it was really interesting to get together with professionals working in a variety of fields other than language assessment, because that's my field and where the use of AI is of utmost interest to me personally, of course, as well as many language testers around the world, working in even classroom teachers, whether they use AI incorporated into their teaching or into their assessment. And in a way, it was really reassuring to see that everybody from every field is really trying to come to terms with the inclusion or the rejection of AI as far as the professional environment is concerned. And of course, some people are a little bit more ahead. Some people are still questioning whether we should have it, in what ways we should have it, whether it should be regulated, in what ways it should be regulated. So it was interesting to see that professionals from other fields had similar concerns to the ones that my colleagues in language assessment community had.
And in terms of the language assessment side of things, what do you see as being the biggest challenge? Is it the fact that students are using it to cheat? Is that a big challenge, or is it something else? Is it the fact that the assessments are now just not keeping up with the real workplace? What do you see as being those kind of big immediate challenges?
I think both of the factors you mentioned are quite valid. Well, as far as language assessment is concerned, one of the most important things we try to achieve is selecting the right type of task. The tasks, well, we all know that learning is an incredibly big cloud and a very, very complicated phenomenon. Teaching is, and learning is very complicated. There are just so many factors that come into play when we're talking about whether a learner has learned something or not. And out of everything that a teacher, a university tutor provides learners with, the amount that the learner takes away is always smaller than what was provided. And out of what the learner managed to learn, of course, the bits that we can assess they're going to be even smaller. So we need to very carefully select the types of assessment tasks that are going to reflect the learning that has taken in the classroom, as well as the type of tasks that are going to reflect the immediate environment in which the learners are going to be using the language. So for us teaching at foundation level, of course, that would be what are the learners going to be required to do with the language, with English that they learn when they move to faculty courses.
Right.
But part of it is, of course, what are the learners going to be required to do with the language they learn when they graduate, when they finally take up some form of employment? So hopefully the type of assessment tasks that we select should reflect what's necessary in the faculty as well as what's necessary when they go into the employment scene.
And it's an interesting one though. So obviously, when we were chatting just before, there's a lot of students learn English so that they could. Is that to take the courses themselves because they're mostly delivered in English, or does the English language, does that then apply to the job that they take afterwards, or is it just a means of them actually participating? That's the kind of barrier. What's the driver there?
The driver there is, well, English being the global language, and so many companies, institutions operating at a global level now, of course, one of the most important requirements is a certain level of English, even after they graduate from university. There are many English medium universities in Turkey where the classes are taught in English. And so in order to be able to deal with English at an academic level, of course, first of all, students have to bring their language level up to at least the B2 level so that they're able to read academic texts, listen to academic material or the lectures, university lectures, and synthesize information and turn them into some form of a production. It could be spoken production or written production, of course. There is a variety there. But at the end of the day, after having completed all of that, English will still be a very important factor for them in the workplace. Getting them a promotion, maybe, if their English level is good. As far as civil servants are concerned, of course, once again, they do get a promotion as they improve their foreign language skills. Majority of the time, that's English.
Yeah. And I suppose then, is there a risk if students are using AI increasingly as part of their learning process? Let's say they're taking English written articles and documents and using AI to convert that to a language they understand. Is that ultimately then going to impact on their actual ability to learn the second language, learn a second language like English? Will that have an impact?
It will have an impact. It could be a positive impact.
Right.
If the learner is really after learning, but not just passing a class. Because when used in the right way, AI tools that are on offer now can really support language learning. But in a way, if they are not used in the right way, they can also deter learning, I think. They can impact it in a negative way because we don't know whether actual learning has taken place or not.
Yeah.
And also, of course, both the instruction, the variety, the type of instruction that takes place in the language classroom, as well as faculty classrooms, also, as well as the type of assessment tasks that are offered to assess what has been taught, they need to follow the requirements of the real world, i.e. the employment scene. At the moment, there's a mismatch between what is on offer and what is expected in the employment scene, because current assessment methods have been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Of course, they're behind the times at the moment.
Yeah.
But we're all trying very hard to catch up, by the way.
And in terms of those assessment methods, so which ones do you think don't work now, and which ones do you think we should be leaning more into in the future? Because I know at the conference there was, for instance, simulations was a very popular kind of point that kind of came up in terms of what a future assessment should look like. Do you agree with that? Do you think things like essay writing should be out the window and more simulation-based activities? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think essay writing has been out the window for a while now.
Yeah.
The type of writing that is expected in faculties is very different from the type of essay language teachers are likely to teach.
Yeah.
I see a lot of colleagues, and this is not just in Turkey, by the way, because I have worked in European settings. I have done training around the world. There is still a tendency towards essay types, like a compare-contrast essay. Now, we know that that's not a requirement at faculty anymore. It hasn't been for a very long time. Or an advantages, disadvantages essay. That's simply not the case. What is expected in faculty, and this has been for quite a while now, is to synthesize the information that you learn in classes and from what you read and from what you are asked to watch or follow, and then synthesize that information using any one of these rhetorical patterns to support the point that you would like to make in your piece of writing. I think we keep using the word essay for lack of a better word, but there's a very different understanding among professionals in my field about what an essay is. But as far as simulations are concerned, yes, I think that those are a very good idea. But as language assessment people, we really want to put everything into a sensible framework and ensure that standards are maintained, because one of our biggest concerns is always to ensure equity, to ensure that everybody is treated in the same way. And so whatever task we choose to assess, whatever part of language we teach, we have to ensure that everybody is treated equally and in a standardized manner. So as far as simulations are concerned, of course, they open up the way to a much more flexible means of assessment. And that's where we're going to have to come up with a variety of innovative ways to assess the learners.
And do you think it's scalable then? I know, is there a challenge there that the equity point you made and the scalability as well? Or have you seen any examples of simulations which you do think are kind of equitable and scalable? Have you got any kind of experience in that sense?
Not as far as language assessment is concerned, but I know that language assessment specialists, professionals, always have this at the back of their minds before they put a product out there in the world. Of course, we know there's a lot of commercial testing of English language as well. And I think the work in that area has become more and more professionals as far as transparency is concerned, as well as ethical standards are concerned. So the awareness of the need to ensure standards and to ensure equity has become more and more part of the agenda of all language assessment conferences, papers, research, and so on. What is becoming old-fashioned is the way we assess skills separately. So testing reading separately, listening separately, although these seem to be the main types of language assessment around the world still, I think those are going to have to change very quickly, because in the real world, you don't just read and then put it away. You do something with what you've read. And input does not just consist of written input. You are exposed to all sorts of different types of media at the same time. So whatever we do, we are going to have to move towards the type of assessment tasks that require integration of skills.
That's a really good point, because I must admit, yeah, I've never thought about it, because there is that, isn't it? There's a reading test, there's a listening test, and a lot of these assessments are very much divided up. But yeah, if you think about, I was thinking just then when you said it, about a kind of situation where you're at a restaurant, you're faced with a menu that's in a foreign language. You've got to read and understand that, and then you have to speak to the waiter or waitress, about that, in that language. That is, and almost you're interpreting that kind of, I really like that, actually. And I don't know why. I wonder why you don't see that as much. Is it because the kind of testing structures are very much about, you must pass the reading bit, you must pass the listening bit? Is that the reason, do you think?
Well, in a way, I think it's a part of the natural progression of things, the way things evolve. The current ways in which we assess skills separately, i.e. reading, listening, speaking, and writing separately, actually reading and listening assessment like that started all the way back in, I think it was around 1956 or something, through examinations developed by Cambridge. And so when you think about it, they've only been around for about 70 years. And of course, in time, and when needs change, when society changes, when the type of expectations change, when the demand changes, then slowly everything starts responding according to those demands. And one of the biggest developments in our field in English language teaching has been the development of the Common European Framework for teaching and learning languages. And recently, for instance, although it was launched more than 20 years ago, 2 years ago, there was a revised version in which we are now talking about mediation in language learning and teaching, where these different forms are brought together, both in terms of teaching and in terms of assessment. So it has started, and it has gained a lot of momentum.
Yeah. It'd be great to see that kind of develop further, isn't it? Because it's a holistic thing, isn't it? It's not, and I suppose there's the collaboration component as well. Do you think because I imagine a lot of students are assessed individually as part of the process, and especially as we turn towards technology, there's less of that human to human assessment component. It's human to screen in there. Do you think there's opportunities for using more collaborative approaches to assessment? So two students talking, and AI can kind of differentiate who's having the best input, or separate that voices out and mark that way. Do you think there's potential in that? Do you think there's scope for that? Would that be useful?
I think so. We've already started using chatbots, for instance, to assess spoken language. But of course, there you need to create an interesting LLM. And those LLMs are a bit of everybody says they're a bit of a black box. You sort of never know what's going to come out of them. But there are very interesting cases where LLMs are being put to use to create a chatbot through which a learner will be able to talk just like I'm talking to you now, and the chatbot is able to calibrate their response according to what they hear from the learner. I think that's very interesting. And I think it's going to improve really quickly too. At the moment, there are issues like time lag and, the black box issue and a couple of others, obviously. But as we try these out, I think these things are going to get a lot better, a lot quicker than we're used to. The only problem, of course, is, and at the conference this was mentioned as well, just as a reminder, currently 1/3 of the world still doesn't have regular access to the internet or even electricity. And so this does raise issues of equity, of course.
We have to be sensible, don't we, about our adoption and make sure that everyone has access in that. I think what's also interesting is that the LLMs are obviously largely trained on English written text, Whereas I think there was a stat that I heard the other day that a large proportion of the world speak Arabic, and that's
Right.
quite underrepresented in the LLMs themselves. So it's how they can then be used and how appropriate they are in terms of the training knowledge for that. I suppose you're in Istanbul is east meets west, isn't it? It's it's classically known in that kind of scenario. And how, just generally, really, in terms of, I suppose, digital adoption and education, what's the kind of picture and landscape there? Because I'm sure the listeners would be interested to hear your kind of insights as to what's happening in terms of education and technology development there. What's the kind of the main theme for you guys at the moment?
Well, a lot is happening. I think one of the biggest advantages of the current scene is it's pushing people to be very innovative.
Right.
Because people have picked up very quickly that if they don't catch up, then they will be left behind.
Yeah.
Quicker than ever. So there are lots of institutions, higher education institutions in Turkey who are carrying out different types of projects. Just last night, I listened to a talk given by two professionals in our field who were using AI scoring and comparing it with human scoring as far as their speaking assessment was concerned. And they received some really interesting results, promising results.
Yeah.
At government level too, at government institutions, again, I work as part of them. And in high schools, everywhere, there's a lot of buzz and a lot of activity. And I see that as very positive, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think it is, isn't it? And do you think that Turkey as a country, in terms of the digital divide and access, are you well placed for technology adoption, or is it, like you said, a third of the world still doesn't have an internet access? How does that translate in Turkey? Does the vast majority of the population have good access to good quality internet?
Majority of the population, yes, they do. Yeah, I think, although not as fast as we would like it to be, the connection wise, there's always room for improvement there. But I think we're one of the countries where it has been possible to, provide. And Turkey is an interesting country where the percentage, I guess, of owning a mobile phone, a smartphone, is really, really big. It's a big percentage. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but yeah.
And is that still kind of people are more mobile first than they are kind of desktop or laptop or tablet?
Yeah, absolutely more mobile than definitely desktop. Laptops obviously everywhere. We all carry them with us. That's why we have hunchbacks and
Well, I think that's been fascinating. I really appreciate that, and I kind of, we touched lightly on your kind of career over time. You must have seen some kind of developments over that kind of period. What's been the kind of, I suppose, what's been the biggest leap? Is this kind of AI period the biggest leap you've seen, or is it the internet, or what's been your biggest leap for you in terms of?
Okay, you're gonna make me really talk about my age now, aren't you?
No. But just I'm intrigued to know. Do you in terms of language teaching? But go on.
Let me put it this way: when Windows came out, it was huge for us. No, seriously, because until then we had word processing programs in which we had to memorize commands. So Windows was a big deal. Okay. And then getting our own laptops was a big deal. The internet was a huge deal. But there has never been a time throughout my career where things developed so quickly. And so with the introduction of AI and basically the way it trickled down to the masses happened towards the end of the pandemic, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a sinking suspicion that because people were so bored and they were isolated at home during the pandemic, they sort of did an immense amount of work in technology and in AI incorporation into real life. And so things started mushrooming as soon as the pandemic was over and we were able to, go out into the public safely, securely, I hope. And so, lots and lots of changes. And this is the way technology develops. And you really have to keep up with it, don't you? Of course, in as ethical and responsible a way as possible.
And just on the pandemic one, are you still seeing echoes of the pandemic in terms of education and youth? I was just on a webinar just now talking about the COVID generation is still seeing a lot of difficulties. Is that the case for yourselves in Turkey?
Of course, yeah.
It's massive international issue, isn't it?
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
That was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I really, particularly the bit about the kind of the mix and the blend, and that simulation needs to get across that real. It is the real world, isn't it? And it's the real skills, not dividing up those skills. And that was really interesting. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully, will I see you at Assessment Now 2026? Do you think you'll make it?
I hope so. I hope so. We'll see.
Yeah, it was brilliant to see then. And I was so keen to speak to you on the podcast after that, because we had such a fascinating chat at the conference. So
you too.
Well, thank you very much. You take care, and we'll hopefully chat and catch up soon.
I hope so. Take care.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. It was a delightful chat, wasn't it? I went a lovely lady, really nice. And I think that was kind of what I love about going to conferences. You just kind of meet these people, and you kind of spark up a kind of conversation, find a real groove of interest in terms of the content and the topic. And I was just so keen to get Zeynep on the podcast just to hear her insights into the challenges you face, particularly in the language testing space, but also just in relation to that kind of Turkish kind of element as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Zeynep. Right, that's it from me. I'm back next week. I've got a really exciting one as well next week. I've got a few. It's like Christmas. It's like Advent calendar coming up. It is Christmas. So join me next week. And as ever, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.